you guys started you guys started arguing, is he a good actor, is he not? And then in the next debate, you were like, what is Kevin Smith's good? What is good about Kevin Smith? I'm like, that's not the debate, guys. I'm like, what are we talking about?
It was insane. I was
like, am I drunk or is this? I literally messaged Aaron. I'm like, am I drunk or is this genuinely hilarious? Because like.
For the first time in a long time, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Movie Battleground. My name is Aaron Knoll. I am the producer of the show, and I am your host for this evening. And as I said, we are back. The show itself has been on roughly a year-long hiatus for myself as producer, showrunner, host. It's been 2.5 years since I've done this actively, but we are here because about a couple months ago in May, I put one post up on Facebook that asked if there were even a possibility of this coming back. Would you be interested? And I basically had a full roster in one night. So that told me I had no choice but to do this and bring it back and bring the fun back, man. This is what TMG was founded on, essentially. And, you know, now we got all those podcast type shows going and all this different stuff. But this is what started it all. And I'm excited to bring it back. And today is a very interesting first match because, you know, we have all these cool returning players, whether they're some of the OGs that played back in like 2017, 2018, whether they played in the slightly newer era of 2019 into 2020. Today, we have two players who, as far as I'm aware, have never played Movie Battleground before. And what a better way to do a relaunch. So I will go ahead and intro our competitors who are listed there. Introducing first with a, same as everybody else, 0-0 record. He is mashed potatoes, Caleb Hanson, joining me on screen. Caleb, how's it going, man? Welcome to the Battleground.
Thank you. It's an honor. It's been a long time coming. I tried to get on, I think probably during your second era a couple of times and just couldn't make it happen. So I'm really excited. I'm a big fan of arguing about movies, and I was always into movie fights, always loved watching debates about nerdy things, and I think we got some nerdy stuff coming up, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe going to piss some people off.
Absolutely. What would a debate be if not to piss people off at the very least? Absolutely. It is called Battleground after all. So without getting into too much, obviously you don't want to reveal anything to your opponent, but what did you do to kind of prepare yourself for this? What do you think did the most in helping you prep to come into this?
Well, for one question in particular, I had to look up a lot of just newer movies of a particular actor that I forgot to go out and watch and stuff. But other than that, I'm kind of doing my same approach as I do in trivia and other things, which is just talk about what I know about. So I picked movies that I know a lot about, or topics that I know a lot about. So we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of winging it.
All right, I like the approach. I'm going to go ahead and drop you to the back for just 1 second and bring in your opponent, making his first appearance on camera, I believe, for anything TMG related. I do know he was on an After Dark episode back in the day, but I don't remember how far back it was. So at least in a long time. He goes by the name Frankenberry. He is Frank Newberry. Frank, welcome on. How's it going, man?
How's it going? Glad to be here.
Thank you, man. So those of you who don't know Frank, a lot of you guys who are competing, you guys are active part of the community, whether it's through trivia, whether it's through appearing on some of our shows, whether it's having previously played and somehow still hung around all these years. You guys are an active part of the community. Frank is as well, but not as much on camera. Frank is a graphic designer that has aided us here at TMG. He designed the After Dark logo first for Maddie G a while ago, and since then he's also designed my Schmo Talks logo and this great new Movie Battleground logo that we have. So now he is kind of stepping into the ring, going back and reading through the comments, almost accidentally so maybe, but he's owned up to it and he's here. So Frank, I'll ask you the same question, man. What do you think helped you most in your prep getting ready for this match?
Well, honestly, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Like, I did go back and watch a couple episodes, one of your matches actually, and basically, I love movies and I love to talk about movies and I like to talk shit. So I'm just I'm here for the duration.
All right. Well, speaking of the duration, let's go ahead and bring Caleb back in. All right, guys. So we'll go ahead and read the rules out for you guys before we go ahead and get started. So there are 5 questions total tonight. 4 of them had been previously sent to the competitors. If we have a 2-2 draw at the end, we will move on to the blind round question, which we will explain once we get there. For each competitor, there will be 4 stages of each debate. You will get a 60-second opening argument. You will get then 2 minutes of follow-up to kind of explain your point more. There will then be 4 minutes of open debate. This is where you guys can scrap, fight, cut each other off if you need to, get as many points out as you can, and then in that final 60 seconds, you will get to close out your argument by yourself. Now, we are working on graphically creating a timer that is a little more pretty to look at, but in the meantime, I do have a very big, bulky timer that will flash up on screen. This will be to kind of tell you that time has started, and then I'll bring it up with some time left so you have an idea of how much you have left remaining in your argument. You guys also have each a 1-minute extension that can be used at any point during the match. If you would like to extend either your opening, your 2 minutes of pitching, or your closing by 1 minute, just let me know before we begin the round, and then I will add that extra time on for you. With that said, at the end of each round, once time is up for all competitors, I will not be doing this alone. I have 3 great judges in the back, Mr. J.D. Domash, Mr. Henry Sanchez, and Mr. Jake Reese, who will then come on screen, make their final decisions, and decide who wins the round. It is first to 3 points, meaning should somebody get a 3-0 win, that is a knockout, and the match will end then and there. We will keep going until somebody gets the 3 points. Do I have any questions from you guys?
I don't think so.
All right, so my final question to you guys is, Caleb, as the competitor who was spun the favorite in the preseason random match determination, you have the option to choose when you go first. So do you want to go first on questions 1 and 3 or 2 and 4?
I'll go odds. I'll do 1 and 3.
1 and 3. Okay. And yes, it was in the private chat, but Henry does make a great point behind the scenes. Just because the timer comes up does not mean it'll mess with your audio. Don't let it distract you as much as you can. Keep speaking. Again, as I said, we're working on something that is a little more subtle, but this is what we got for now. With that said, if we are ready, I will go ahead and intro the first question and then get the hell off screen for you guys. And your question, the first question on the return of Battleground, for 2 gentlemen that look like they enjoy themselves some fine horror films, is none other than, what is the best horror film of the 2010s? It is a decade that was active when we started this show. It is now complete, and there are 10 years of film from you to pick from. And that means, Caleb, as you have chosen to go first, you will get your 1-minute opening. I will drop off screen. Your time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, so let me take you back to 2007 when a visionary director in the independent circuit made his forefront. He was an actor, Adam Green. He made a great movie called Spiral, wrote and directed it. Followed it up in 2008 with the modern B-movie horror classic Hatchet, and then followed it up with what is probably slasher movie perfection with the movie Hatchet 2. Everything was ratcheted up. They added more gore, more sex, more action. You know, this is the franchise that brought Tony Todd, Kane Hodder, and Robert Englund together. It's fantastic movies, fantastic franchise. My pick is Hatchet 2.
All right, perfect. Like I said, guys, a little bit of early shakes there, but we'll get it all underway. So that is the intro for Caleb. Frank, you will have 1 minute to intro your argument. Your time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. Honestly, I think when you talk about horror in the 2010s, really, there's the only movie that even comes close is Hereditary. I mean, my favorite horror movie of all time is The Exorcist. So when you go to that kind of psychological um, fear, I guess for me, Hereditary is just off the charts, and not only the story but the cinematography, the use of the miniatures and stuff. It's just amazing, and I think that's all the time I need.
All right. So I'm going to cede the remaining of his opening minute. That is perfectly fine. All right. So you guys now have your 2 minute, and his answer was Hereditary, but you guys have your 2 minute flesh out. So Caleb, it goes back to you. You have 2 minutes to continue your argument on your own. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. All right. So now getting into Hatchet 2, I gave you a little bit of the backstory before. The story of Hatchet 2, it's kind of like it's really original and fun. It's a fun, lighthearted horror movie that is actually really doubles down on great slasher action. They improved the cast by recasting the main girl, and I'm blanking on her name because I didn't study. It's Danielle something. Uh, she ratchets the final girl character to a whole nother level. Kane Hodder's performance in this movie is iconic as both Victor Crowley and his father. He does some of the most effective acting of his career, I think, in this movie. It's just a fantastic horror movie. It's a ghost story slasher. It takes you back to that throwback 80s feel that I absolutely love, and backed up by a script written by Adam Green and all of his team, which were incredible. Also, in Hatchet 2, they tie in his other movie that he did just before this, Frozen, which was another great gore porn kind of natural thriller, which was awesome. Adam Green's a visionary director, and he perfected this series in Hatchet 2. It's the best slasher movie out there in the 2010s, and and slashers are my all-time favorite horror movies.
And that'll be time. All right, perfect ending. Frank, you have 2 minutes to expand on Hereditary. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, I can't argue that Hatchet is a great slasher movie, but horror is a lot bigger genre than that, I believe, and I think it's actually more campy and comedic in ways. For me, Hereditary is terrifying. There's the twist all the way through it, and again, just fleshing out as a horror film. It done a lot with cinematography for a horror film that you just don't see. Again, the use of miniatures, moving those shots through the miniature homes, and then it just opens up into the real world. And then also, it just keeps leading you down that path. You're like, you don't really know what's going on, and then you get the big quick shots of gore, like with the car accident and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of suspense, and I think it's just a better overall horror movie. And also with the Hatchet films, like you keep saying the word '80s, and this is about the 2010s, So, but hey, that's my shot.
All right, so you see the rest of your time. That's perfectly fine. All right, so this is where the fun begins. You guys have 4 minutes on the clock. This is for open debate. Obviously, to an extent, be respectful, but this is your guys' chance to fight for it as much as you can. The time starts when one of you begins speaking.
Okay, so Hereditary, it was a great ghost movie, but there's a whole lot more freaking to horror movies than just freaking possession, demon, ghost haunting movies. Everybody wants to bring up that it's such a tired trope. I've seen there's Insidious, there's Sinister. They're like these franchises are all there doing the same freaking thing.
Well,
Yes, Hereditary
that's not necessarily
was
true, though. That's not necessarily true. Hereditary is. I don't even know how you would compare that with a movie like Insidious or Sinister.
I mean,
There's a lot more psychological work going on than with a movie like
at the end of the
Insidious.
day, it's still a haunting movie. It's about the family curse.
Well, yeah, that's true. But there's a lot more to it than just a haunting. I mean, when you look at the different people that are popping up all throughout the movie that you have no idea are tied into this cult around this family.
I suppose it's a fair point, but like it's still I don't know. The whole premise is a family cursed, and they're being haunted by their family's past. I get that. It's been done before. I've seen it in foreign horror movies. It's just it was revolutionary for its niche of
you're making this argument. You're making this argument, right? And I get that, but at the same time, your choice is an 80s style slasher film. They are formulaic.
It's a throwback. Nature. It's a throwback to that style with practical effects.
And the practical effects are great. I'll give you that.
They are amazing. Like, have you ever watched a person get strangled with their own guts? Like it. Right. And then his head popped off.
There are great practical effects. I'll give you that.
So awesome. And more importantly, it's taking these horror greats from the 80s and 90s, Tony Todd, Robert Englund, and Kane Hodder. And there was in one of the movies, there was the other guy who played Michael Myers in the reboots. Right. I can't remember his name, the tall, bald guy.
You have to separate the group of people from the art.
Wait, no, I agreed, but they're bringing them into a new original movie that is like almost just as iconic as their original roles to people that are in that horror in the know that like B movies. They Hatchet is up there.
Right.
Hatchet is up there. It's an original
point though. B movies.
Oh, a B movie is still a quality movie. Just because it didn't get a super wide release doesn't mean it wasn't successful. It won.
I don't mean that.
I think it won 6 awards, not like major Oscars or anything, but it's a well-regarded movie.
Agreed.
And it's incredibly original from the violence, from the gore.
Don't know that I would call it original, but it's a good flick. But I don't know I would call it original.
It's a family revenge film set in the Louisiana Bayou that happens to be haunted by.
Isn't that the argument you just made against Hereditary? Was that it's a family curse film that's like?
I said a family revenge film is what Hatchet is.
Oh, okay.
It's all Hatchet too. She's going back to the swamp to get revenge on this slasher, this unstoppable killer.
And that is time. Kill him. That is going to be time on the open debate round. Good job, guys. You guys each have 1 minute of closing. Caleb, that starts for you when you begin speaking.
Okay, so is Hereditary a good scary movie? I guess so. Personally, I don't find the ghost thing all that scary. Generally, that's my least favorite kind of horror movie. and there were some great performances in it. I think I think that Kane Hodder's performance would rival some of the performances in Hereditary. In specifically in Hatchet 2, Frank said that Hatchet 2 was more of a comedy than it was a actual horror movie. I think that's completely untrue. Hatchet 1, I would agree with you, very comedic. There are comedic elements that are in Hatchet 2, but it is far more ratcheted up and intense. It is just a great old school slasher movie that is also original.
All right, last word in there. Frank, you have 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. I wouldn't argue for a minute that Hatchet 2 is not a great movie. I think that Kane Hodder's great in it. I think that the practical effects are great. However, I also feel like it's more of a fun, nostalgic type thing. I mean, you look, it's a dude in a rubber suit. It's great for what it is. I love it. But Hereditary, I seriously know people who left the theater and couldn't sleep after Hereditary. I think there's just something to be said for that kind of psychological fear-inducing filmmaking, and I think they hit it on the head with Hereditary.
People couldn't sleep after the Blair Witch Project.
All right,
that's a good point. I will give you 2 points on that.
All right, guys. So thank you. That was a great first fight to return to Movie Battleground with. You guys are going to go in the back, take a little break, grab some water, whatever you need, while I bring the judges on for the decision as they come on screen. So, judges, you guys will have 30 seconds from the moment that I hit start on the timer to make your final decisions. To explain to people how the judges work in Movie Battleground for the moment, I have 3 judges with me. They have this last 30 seconds to make a decision. When they start, I'm going to go in the order that was predetermined, first to JD, then Henry, then to Jake. They will give who they thought won, and then they will give the main point that swayed them towards the winner. If the first 2 people agree on who gets the point before we get to the third, then we will simply move on, because all it takes is 2 judges' votes to win. So with that said, your 30 seconds is up. So I will go to JD. Go ahead and give me who won for you, and then quickly give me why they won for you. Go ahead.
I'm going with Mr. Mashed Potatoes. I thought that it came down to specifics for me, and he had way more specifics than Frank. I understood why Hatchet 2 was a good movie. I couldn't really get from the argument, what was the movie, what was Hereditary about, or anything like that. Well, with her Hatchet 2, I really understood. He talked about, the actors and the throwback, and, that's ultimately what it came down to.
So clarity of the argument won it for JD. Henry, I go to you. Who won that argument for you?
So this one's tough, because you can definitely tell that their inexperience in debating came to play, because both of them had feelings for each movie. And just a heads up for this entire thing, I'm going to have extensive notes. So if anybody wants to message me privately after and get clarification on my judging, you can. But with that said, on the contrary of what JD said, yes, Caleb had more specifics on why he liked his movie. I think I have to give the edge to Frank based on the horror aspect. I think Caleb sold me why his movie is better, subjectively speaking, but I think Frank did a little bit of better job on saying why his is a better horror movie, which is technically the question. So we can get into semantics, but I'm going with Frank, by 1 point, barely.
All right, and then Jake, I go to you in 30 seconds or less. Give me who won and why they won it.
Frank, and simply because he stumbled a little less early and did make that point. I agree with Henry about why it's really the better horror movie, because it is the scarier movie.
Okay, all right. So with that, with a score of 2 votes to 1, that means Mr. Frank Newberry will be the recipient of our first point of the match. It is 1-0. Thank you, judges. I'll go ahead and drop you guys to the back as we prepare for our second round. And I'll bring our fighters back on screen. Guys, that was a great first round. The score is 1-0, but there's still plenty of game left. With that said, we'll go ahead and move on to question number 2. And that question is, what is the best director pairing of Matt Damon's career? Now, this is a new type of question we're doing with Movie Battleground. Basically, I went through the given actor's career, and I will do this for all of them, and I pulled out either a director that they worked with more than once or a director that, through behind-the-scenes knowledge that is public, had a very big influence on their career, and they were only in maybe smaller roles in some of their films, or only worked with them once, but it is known publicly that they had an impact on their career. So this is one of the types of questions, if an actor comes up, that can be given. We're going with Matt Damon based off his recently released film Stillwater, which is in theaters at the moment. So that is why we are running with this. And with that said, Frank, you are going first on the second questions of the match. So I will go ahead and hide myself in the back while you have your first minute on the clock to talk about which director you went with. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, this is going to be really quick because I'm not a very big Matt Damon fan anyway. And I think really I'm probably going to have to say Kevin Smith, just for he did direct Dogma, right? Is that correct? I think so. And really, that's the only movie that I ever saw Matt Damon in that I felt like he got out of his own way. Like every movie I ever see Matt Damon in, I'm like, well, there's Matt Damon. But I thought that him and Affleck played off each other really well in Dogma as the angels, and my bias against him didn't really hurt him in that movie. So for that reason alone, I'm going to say Kevin Smith.
All right. And it should be said, I can't remember if I said this at the start or not, but obviously the directors I picked are ones that either had an influence on their career or they worked with more than once. However, the competitor chooses to angle the argue is on them. So that is Frank's argument for Kevin Smith. Caleb, I will go to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So much like Frank in this one, I am not the most familiar with all of Matt Damon's pairings with directors, but of the directors, I think this guy is one of the most creative and original thinkers. And he did some really cool movies with Matt Damon, and that's Terry Gilliam, the visionary director. Then, so you had Zero Theorem, and you had the Brothers Grimm. So Brothers Grimm, you had Peter Stormare, you had Heath Ledger, and what's her name? I can't remember her name. The super hot lady from Bedazzled.
And that is going to be time on the super hot lady. 2 minute. The 2 minute flush out starts, Frank, when you begin speaking.
For me, like I said, of everything I've ever seen him in, that's the only thing I've really enjoyed his work in, and it was with Kevin Smith. So other than that, I really don't even know what to say about it because, like I said, I'm just not a big Matt Damon fan. I don't like his acting, and I guess he's done some pretty good work with some other directors, but that's the only thing I ever enjoyed him in. And I'm not like a critic. I'm just a movie fan, so that's kind of how I have to base things.
No, absolutely. All right, so if you would prefer to cede your time till the open debate round, that's perfectly fine. All right, so that's the go. That's the go ahead on that. So Frank will cede his 2 minutes. Caleb, your 2 minutes begins when you start speaking.
Oh boy. All right. So Monica Bellucci is the really attractive lady's name, by the way. I thought the brothers. I shouldn't say I think, apparently, because of what Henry was saying. Anyways, the Brothers Grimm is a really interesting take on a movie. It's got Terry Gilliam's DNA all through it. It's weird, it's dark, it's scary, but it's also funny. And I think that Matt Damon really shines in that movie, particularly, which is especially impressive when you consider that he was paired with Heath Ledger, who is a really fantastic actor. Is it maybe a bit of a silly movie? Yes, but it's great for what it is, and it's a lot of fun. And then Zero Theorem with Christoph Waltz is just a really interesting tech thriller. And I don't know, so I feel like Matt Damon got to maybe flex a little bit his range more than he ever did with Kevin Smith, where he played one of two characters in all of Kevin Smith's movies that he's appeared in. And a bit more range, a bit more elevation of the caliber of actor that he was paired with, and still managing to come out on top and be memorable in both of those movies. And that's all I got, man.
All right. Made the most of it. So with that said, we are on to the open debate round. With that said, listen, sometimes these are the funs, these battlegrounds. The battles don't go the way you expect. We are essentially doing Dogma versus Brothers Grimm. Who slightly hates Matt Damon less is basically the battle. So let's have at it, boys. Argue for him. 4 minutes on the clock when the first person starts speaking.
I don't mean to completely bash Matt Damon or anything. I don't know. I don't see anything spectacular in his acting, basically. And I think the only reason I like him the little bit that I do in Dogma is because he's kind of funny in it. And it don't seem like he's taking himself so seriously. Everything I ever see him in, it's every role, I don't see much of a difference in it. And so it's hard for me. Basically, I'm picking this movie because out of the movies that he's been in and directors that he's worked with, that's the only one I find entertaining at all. I'm not big into dramas and that kind of thing. So maybe that's why, but
I mean, it could be, I also happen to know that Paul Greengrass was on this list, and so you could have gone with his action movies, which were pretty impressive. The Bourne movies were pretty great.
Those Bourne movies don't do anything for me at all. I find them to be. To me, it's like a ripoff of Mission Impossible or friggin' 007 or whatever. It just don't.
I think you totally missed the point, but we're not even debating about those.
2.5 minutes on the clock. Let's get back to the films we picked.
Matt Damon's a good actor.
I can give my opinions.
And he really does rise to the occasion to the level of the caliber of actors Peter Stormare and Heath Ledger in The Brothers Grimm.
I don't think he comes close to Heath Ledger in anything. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, okay. Also, just in terms of movies, I mean, Dogma, it's a really good Kevin Smith movie, but it's not Brothers Grimm is obviously a much better film experience. And then
it probably is. It's just not my cup of tea. So I'm not
and then, like I said, Zero Theorem is
I've not even seen that. I haven't even seen that. I've never heard of it. So
you should check it out. It's a good movie. But that's also a really good movie where he gets to shine with actors of a way higher caliber than he should be able to beat, and then it elevates his performances. Whereas Kevin Smith movies, it's his buddy. He's right. Playing himself the whole time.
And honestly, for me, that's where he feels. For me, that's where he feels most authentic. That's the whole point I was trying to make.
So really, I don't know what I'm arguing here.
I mean, you're arguing against yourself because I just think he's I mean, honestly, I don't like him as an actor, so I don't even really. There's no way I can argue for anything he's in, really. So
I feel like there's an argument that you could bring up that would definitely improve your argument, and I'm not going to give it to you.
Do you guys want to just kill the 30 seconds and move on at this point?
Yeah, I suppose so.
I don't care either way.
All right. So, you know what? This is a beautiful natural train wreck, and I will take it. Sometimes, guys, this is
you know who you were dealing with when you brought me in here.
This is the fun of the game, you know. As competitors, they each get to pick one strength that goes towards a question. That's not being revealed on camera who picked what strength, but I think it's clear what they didn't pick.
Right.
So with that said, Frank, you have 1 minute of closing. Would you like it?
Sure.
All right,
I hope that I'm not coming off trying to be prickish toward Caleb, because I'm not at all. I really don't like Matt Damon, and that's basically the whole gist of this whole last segment. So that's it.
All right, that will be time. Caleb, you have 1 more minute if you'd like to make any other points.
Sure. Matt Damon's actually a good actor. I can't disagree with you more there, Frank.
And that's cool. That's cool.
You know, Terry Gilliam is a great filmmaker, and when you pair them together, you get a really good movies. When you pair Kevin Smith and him together, you get a cameo generally, or a bit part. Ben Affleck was the star of Dogma in terms of those villains. Loki was kind of an afterthought, or not an afterthought, but he wasn't like anywhere. He didn't get it near as much time to shine. You know, my movies, he got a chance to shine. He got the spotlight a little bit. He got to share the scenery, and they were quality movies. Dogma's just
and
okay.
That'll be time. All right.
Hey, look, I came in here to get my ass kicked. All right.
hey! You got the point. Your ass isn't getting kicked. You got the first point. Let's. You know what? I can't even, like, this is the most fun thing that's ever happened that's never been rigged. This was incredible. All right. And the thing is, I have to give so much credit to Frank because, again, like I said, this was not one of their strength questions. He didn't even contest it one bit. He was just nope, those are questions. All right.
I can. How could I, you know?
So this was incredible.
It hurts so bad to argue against Kevin Smith.
All right, let's go to the back. And I will bring on our 3 judges. This time, Henry's first in the lineup. I will give you guys your due diligence of 30 seconds if anyone should need it, or are we ready to go?
I don't need any time.
We are ready to go. Henry, who gets your votes?
I'm so glad I was muted that entire time because I was laughing so hard. I was pissing. I was getting a beer. I was laughing the entire time. My AirPod extension, I get it far. Caleb won that, and Frank won't even argue that. I mean, obviously, I think Frank would argue more for Matt Damon than him winning this round. So that just shows we're probably on the same page here. So no knockouts, in my opinion.
All right. And Jake Tato, where does the point go?
Gosh, maybe I'm in the wrong on this one, but I have Frank with the win.
You're a wild boy.
I admit I'm a huge Kevin Smith dick rider, but I tried my best to not have that influence at all. But the last bit in the 4 minutes when Frank had talked about how authentic Ben Maddox, is in Kevin Smith movies. And then Caleb did make that point against himself, kind of. I agreed with Frank on that one, and that's what kind of did it for me.
All right, so it's 1-1 in votes. JE, where does the point go?
I mean, this was beautiful to watch, but I agree. I agree with Henry. I had to go with Caleb. At least he tried to make an argument, I mean, I don't think even Frank would say that was really an argument. So I don't think I'm.
Frank might say Jake's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think he's nodding backstage. That was the beauty of that round. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for helping us with that. The score is 1-1 as I send you guys backstage and bring back in our competitors. All right, guys.
Are we even competitors at this point?
If you're on my roster, I will give you the respect of competitor. Okay, so as if this match couldn't get any better, we have what was up next, a behind-the-scenes gaffe on my part. A question about an actor was given, and then I later realized that there was really no real way to answer this outside of just Kevin Smith films. So he will never be used again as a category, but these guys are new. I know they wanted to have fun with this one, so I said, fuck it. There's a movie in here that didn't go to theaters, and I just quite frankly don't care at this point. So with that said, speaking of Kevin Smith, ironically, what is Jason Mewes' best film? A man who is known for many things, not one of them being his acting necessarily, but we are going to argue what his best film is. And Caleb, since you elected to go first on 1 and 3, you will get first dibs on this question. Time starts.
All right. I already know I have an uphill battle with this one because A, it didn't come out in theaters, and B, probably none of you have heard of it. But it's by far Jason Mewes' best role. It's his best movie in terms of storytelling and in terms of acting. His performance is actually really compelling in this. It's a movie called Bitten. It was a Anchor Bay straight to DVD movie, but it's a mostly straight horror vampire movie. I think it's like really compelling. You see Jason Mewes as this EMT, and like he has trouble sleeping, and so he's going like a little bit crazy in his head. And he meets a girl and he rescues her, and it turns out she's a vampire, and it's super interesting. It's like Let the Right One In meets
And time.
John dies at the end.
All right, so that will be time on your opening argument. Frank, you have 1 minute to open. Time starts when you speak.
Okay, I kind of had a hard time with this one. I love Jason Mewes, and I kind of went back and forth on whether it was Clerks or it was Silent Bob Strike Back. And I think at the end of the day, I had to say J.M. Silent Bob Strike Back just because it takes everything they did in Clerks and then dials it up to 11. So that's my choice, and I'm sticking with it.
All right, on that front, you'll see the remaining time. All right, Caleb, you have 2 minutes to expand and flesh out your argument. Your time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, so Jason Mewes as Jake in this movie, he does a really good job at portraying both heartbreak and insomnia in this. He's also plays a really sensitive and caring character who's nurses this woman that he just found back to life. After he found her bloody in the alley. He's really sensitive and interesting. It's also got some really funny elements in it too, but for the most part, it's kind of a straight vampire drama. I thought it was really interesting. They take elements of being a junkie, which obviously some of it comes from Jason Mewes' own experience with drugs, and that I think that really shines through in the movie. The parallel of being a drug addict and being compelled to drink people's blood, I thought was pretty cool. The girl who plays Danica is really good in her role. It doesn't hurt that there's a few really cool sex scenes that are fun to watch. And also, it's cool gore and a cool little vampire story. Like I said, kind of Let the Right One In meets John dies at the end. just really interesting movie making and an actual quality performance from Jason Mewes, which I know a lot of people don't think is possible, or that he's kind of pigeonholed into playing Jay in Kevin Smith movies. And he actually stands out in this movie. So for that reason, it's the best.
All right. That'll be time. Frank, 2 minutes on the clock for you to expand when you start speaking.
Okay, unfortunately, I haven't seen Bitten, but then again, I don't think it was even a theatrical release, was it?
No.
Anyway, I didn't think so. But anyway, for me, like when you hear the name Jason Mewes, you automatically think comedy. You think dick jokes and fart gags, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what he's good at. And I think that the movies that he's done with Kevin Smith, again, we just keep talking about Kevin Smith, but I think that's where he really does shine. And that's not to say that he can't be a serious actor. Like, I've never seen him do that or anything. But I think out of the movies that I have seen him in, which is basically movies where he's playing himself opposite Silent Bob, for me, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is just the best of all of that. It's like a celebration of those two characters for me, and I think they did it perfectly. And really, I don't even have 2 minutes worth more to say about it. So,
all right, that is perfectly fine. We'll go ahead and kill the clock there. All right, guys, 4 minutes to open debate. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, so Jay and Silent Bob isn't even the best movie in the Kevin Smith movies that Jason Mewes is in.
That's a better opinion. Like,
I mean, objectively, like it's a Jay and Silent Bob was like silly and like lighthearted. There was no like serious, like heartfelt thing that is like Kevin Smith's signature.
But is that his signature? I mean, to me,
it absolutely was at the time. Like even Dogma, which is like one of his weaker movies, or Jersey Girl.
That's what I thought was weak about Dogma. It was that he actually tried to like wax poetic or whatever, and I just don't think that's his strong suit.
That's what he's done his entire career. That's what he got famous for, was waxing poetic.
He got famous for fucking dick jokes with fucking
waxing poetic about dick jokes.
okay, whatever. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Or like, you know, entire scenes of diatribes of people sitting around talking about the contractors that died on the second Death Star. You know, like that's why he's famous. Like waxing poetic is absolutely why Kevin Smith is famous.
That's not waxing poetic though. That's nerd jokes. Like that's for people like us who watch Star Wars a million times. It's not. 100%. It's not a profound statement of any kind.
I think it absolutely was. I think a lot of people who
because it connects
never would have thought of that.
Like it does with me. It connects with people like us, but that's not your general movie-going public.
I think that's incredibly inaccurate. I've seen Siskel and Ebert review Kevin Smith movies and talk about his dialogue and how good he is at dialogue. It is 100% waxing poetic about nerd shit, but he's still waxing poetic. That is what he's known for, is great dialogue. And
personally, I think he's known for comedy, but that's
comedic dialogue. But anyways, so in Jay and Silent Bob, that's probably his weakest script in terms of the dialogue. It's the most over the top Jason Mewes because he was like at a real down point in his life.
Regardless of where he was in his life, he was
drag it out of him. He was sure, but not as great as he is in every other Kevin Smith movie. Well, like you could have put Zack and Miri Make a Porno up there. You could have put.
The reason for that though is how much of that can you take? That goes right back to what I was saying. It's like it's great in Clerks because there's not that much of it. But in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, it's dialed up to 11. Like the whole thing's one big dick joke, pretty much. which personally to me, I think is what he does best. Both of them, Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
I think that's inaccurate. He does acting best. He's acting. He's not Jay in real life either. You know that, right?
No, but he's
acting he's actually a really introvert. He's a very introverted, quiet person. Like Jay is actually based off of Kevin Smith, the way Kevin Smith talks. Like Jason Mewes is actually a very quiet and shy person for the most part, and he does have depths that can be.
That's what anybody does, though. That's what any entertainer takes. And most of them are pretty insecure a lot of times.
Yeah, but you're saying
their personality and dial it to 11.
But that's
all
not
right.
And you can't say that's not in him to start with. Otherwise, he couldn't bring it out.
Time on the 4-minute debate. Much more passion than Matt Damon. I see. We at least found someone they like more than Matt Damon. Caleb, you have a 1-minute close. You have a 1-minute closing. Caleb, time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. Jason Mewes is a talented actor. He gets pigeonholed a lot, but he is capable of great performances. He's not going to win any Oscars ever, but he has a wealth of knowledge and experiences that he can draw upon and really deliver an affecting performance, not just dick jokes. You could have even said Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Like he's so affecting in that movie. He's like heart-wrenching. But Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, it's kind of a mess. And Bitten is a solid like analogy for drug abuse and stuff, while being a fun romance horror movie that Jason Mewes just shines in.
And time. All right, that'll be the final statement from Caleb. Frank, you have 1 minute of closing. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I don't doubt that Jason can act any way he wants to. I'm not saying that he's just pigeonholed into that one thing. I just think that's what he does best. And I think that character is what he's known for best. And I really don't see a whole lot of way to argue with that. But, and again, we're talking about a movie that didn't even get a theatrical release. And you're talking about what the movie's about and this and that. And he's an actor in that movie. He didn't direct it, right?
They included
so
it.
So that's not his vision. That's really all I can retort to that. So,
all right, fair enough. So that will be time on the argument. It should be said, again, this is not something that happens very often, but because of a particular screw-up on my end, I allowed him to continue it in. This was something both competitors agreed to as well. There would have been a change if there had been a bigger problem in the pre. So, as many other good points as you guys made, I do warn to the judges, do not let the "it wasn't theatrical" affect you this time around. That was a blunder on my gaff, not either of theirs. With that said, Tato and Frankenberry, you guys are going to go behind the scenes for the moment as I bring on Jake, JD, and Henry to make our decisions. You guys, are all decisions made, or do you guys need the 30 seconds?
I know where I'm going to lead. I know where I'm going to lead.
Yes or no?
I'm good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. So, Jake, 30 seconds or less. Tell me who won and why they won it for you. Time starts when you speak.
Caleb got this one for me. The big thing that he pointed out was that it wasn't even that Jay and Bob isn't even Kevin's, or isn't even perhaps the best Kevin Smith movie. But then he also made the great point about the real drug addiction part of Bitten, and how it's like an emotional performance, but also funny, and you get sex and gore, but like a sensitive Jay Mewes. That sounds like fun to me. So, Caleb.
All right, that'll be it. One vote for Caleb. JD, 30 seconds or less. Who won it for you?
I agree. I also give it to Caleb. It really came down to the counters for me, and it just Ultimately, I think Frank repeated the same point too much, and while Caleb was bringing a lot of depth, so that's ultimately how I leaned.
All right, so that is going to be it on that one. 2 votes immediately go to Caleb, which means Caleb will take a score of 2-1. Thank you, judges. You guys are going to head to the back. Keep sipping that beer,
Bye.
Henry. As we bring back on mashed potatoes and Frankenberry, this is still a very competitive match, 2-1. And I feel like, based on the chats, the discussion in the chat, not only is this last question a little more favorable to both, but we're going to get a fun one here. I decided to go for the jugular on this one. We had Stoner with Jason Mewes, Kevin Smith being brought up. We had some horror films. So why not go for the other fun genre? The final question of tonight's match is question number 4. What is the best ensemble action film of all time? So this is what film that is clearly an ensemble film is the best action film of all time. And with that said, Frank, because you were he selected to go first on 3, you will go first on 4. So with that said, you will have a minute on the clock for your opening. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I can't even remember what I chose for this, and I think it was The Expendables. And I think that even like if I was just asked that right now out of the blue, that's still what I would say. No, because I mean, there are a lot of ensembles you could bring up, but most of them are not really what you would call ensemble action. They're more superhero related. So while I was tempted to go with like an Avengers or something like that, I think that The Expendables, having all those old action heroes from back in the 80s all come together in one place. I don't know. It was a really profound thing for me. I thought it was great. It was a real big throwback to all the old movies like Commando and Predator and that kind of thing. I thought it was great.
Okay. All right. Seeds the last 15 seconds or so. Caleb, you have 1 minute on the clock when you begin speaking.
So this was the easiest question. Absolutely. The second I saw it, this is the first thing that popped into my head. It's absolutely the greatest ensemble in an action movie, specifically action by the greatest action director ever, John McTiernan. It's Predator. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger, you got Carl Weathers, you got Jesse the Mind, Body, and Soul Ventura. You got Eli. Why can't I think of his last name? Anyways, like a great cast. They all get their time to shine in the movie. They've got their individual personalities. You got Billy the Tracker. You got Bill Duke in there, just being like the most intense and scary badass of probably of the 80s. It's Predator. Predator's the ensemble.
All right. And that will be time on that. Frank, you are up next. Once again, 2 minutes on the clock to flush out when you begin speaking.
Okay. I'm not even going to lie. Like it's hard to counter anything you just said because Predator's such a good movie. But there's 2 factors for me that made me choose The Expendables over something like that. And as you know, even like when I was talking about The Expendables just now, I brought up Predator. I don't really think number 1, it's an ensemble film. I think it's more of a Schwarzenegger film than an ensemble film. And number 2, there's the whole sci-fi element to it, so I wasn't sure whether it was even eligible for this, honestly. But now, I'm not to say that it's not. I'm just saying this is my process of thought when I was going through the whole thing. And Expendables, I mean, you just got Schwarzenegger, Stallone. You got the dude that played Ivan Drago. I can't think of his name right now. It's literally a whole cast of action heroes from the 80s. So that was my thought process behind it, just to flesh it out a little more.
All right, you're going to cede your time?
Yep, done.
Oh, all right. That's fine. Caleb, 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I mean, like I said, I think if you looked at most reviews or any kind of user score, for Predator, you'd see that it's up there as one of the best action movies of all time. I think they're absolutely it's an action movie. How can you say it's? How can you say
it's not an ensemble?
All right. Let him talk this time.
It is an ensemble. Like I said, everybody gets a chance to shine there. You got why can't I remember the freaking director's name that is in that movie? Shane Black. His one-liners that never land are great until when Billy laughs. There's tons of memorable moments from the ancillary characters in that movie. It's absolutely an ensemble piece. Just because Schwarzenegger is the only one left at the end, it doesn't mean it's only his movie. Jesse Ventura is super memorable. He gets a ton of shine time. Bill Duke is so memorable. You can't tell me this isn't an ensemble movie. And then to go on the attack a little bit, The Expendables it's a gimmick. It's let's get all these old guys together in one movie, and then only give one or two of them the chance to shine. You had these huge characters. You had Jet Li in this movie, and he's wasted. He barely has any screen time. Dolph Lundgren's in this movie. Basically, he's there to sort of turn on them at one point. You had Randy Couture in there, does nothing. You had Terry Crews in there, does almost nothing. You had Mickey Rourke, does almost nothing. He's only in like 2 scenes.
And that's time. All right, so I can see you guys rearing to go. This is getting fun here. There are 4 minutes on the clock for your open debate. Time starts when the first one of you speaks.
Okay. Obviously, in any ensemble film where you have 8 or 10 high caliber
Except
actors,
for Predator.
some of them are going to have more time than others. However, with Predator, the whole thing, who's on the poster? What's on the poster? It's a Schwarzenegger movie. It's not an ensemble movie. Every movie has more than one actor in it. That does not make it an ensemble. That doesn't make it an action ensemble. And honestly, I would argue that it's more of a sci-fi movie than it is an action movie.
It's an action movie with one alien in it. It's not a sci-fi movie.
But, okay, with one alien in it, but that one alien is the focus of the whole movie.
To referee, I'm going to jump in just so you don't spend too much time. If you want to argue the eligibility of your guys' ensembles, that's absolutely fine. In terms of determining sci-fi versus action, it was accepted as an action film. So anything that was said, judges don't take that into effect. I just want to let you guys know so you don't spend too much time on it. All right?
Cool.
Well, I mean, you can frame it any way you want to, but it's a movie about an alien. So, I mean...
It's a movie about a squad of commandos going into the jungle.
The bigger point is that it's a Schwarzenegger movie. And you have like, I don't even, like 8 or more probably high caliber actors starring in this movie, The Expendables. Predator is a Schwarzenegger movie.
I definitely wouldn't say that they're starring. This is 100% a Sylvester Stallone movie, if you want to put it that way.
Well,
and then everybody else is ancillary. Even Jason Statham, who is probably the second biggest character in that movie, is a side piece to Stallone. Stallone's in almost every piece of the action. Does he do really cool action? Not really, actually. He does that really fast, quick reload. Other than that, it's a lot of running and standing around shooting guns. And I guess that's not a great argument against Predator because there's a lot of running and shooting guns in that too.
And what is a slang word? What is a slang word for an action movie? A running gun.
Sure. But
yeah, I mean,
there's also,
believe me, I'm not arguing
story.
that Predator's not a great action movie, and it is, but I'm just saying it does have those sci-fi elements. That's the only thing I was bringing that up about. But I don't think it's an ensemble movie. I think it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
I just gave you examples of how it's an ensemble movie, that there's memorable parts of... But
that's
every single character in that movie is memorable. There are equal parts of that team.
In their death scene? In their death scene?
In their death scene, in their life scenes. I just gave you Shane Black telling the dirty jokes about his girlfriend's pussy. There's freaking hilarious. And then he
Okay,
gets a,
and
he gets a
that
cool death.
makes it a great ensemble movie because he told
Yes,
a pussy
yes,
joke.
because
Okay.
every character in that movie is memorable.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
The only ones I really remember is Jesse Ventura and
Bill Duke telling
can't
dude
think of the actor's
if he gives their position away, he'll kill him.
that's
or
the one other guy I would mention, but I can't think
and when
of the
he
actor's name.
Bill Duke, and then or when he stabs the scorpion, you think he's gonna stab the guy in the back, and then he kills the scorpion on his back and gets it off. There's the part when the predator impersonates him to get it. He goes over here. There's that part with Bill Duke. Bill Duke has a huge part in that movie. Jesse Ventura has a huge part in that movie.
I can't argue that Predator's not the better movie. It is. It's absolutely the better movie. I just don't think it's an ensemble movie. That's my only argument.
I mean, then how do you qualify an ensemble movie? Because again, Sly is 100% the star of that movie. Sly is the main character of that movie, and then you've got all these other famous people that are there.
I disagree. Look at the movie poster for Predator. Look at the movie poster for The Expendables. You got one actor on one. You got several on the other.
It's because they sold that movie as all these action heroes together.
Because they sold Predator as an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
All right, and time. That'll be time on the open debate. Oh, all right, guys. So you guys will have 1 minute to close. Frank, you are up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I mean, there's not a whole lot that I can say that I haven't already said. I mean, I think Predator's a great movie. Absolutely wonderful movie. Box office blast back in the day, but it's not an ensemble movie. Look at the poster. It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger on it. That's the seed.
Gotcha. All right, so he'll cede the last of his time. Caleb, you have 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you speak.
Posters notwithstanding, Predator is absolutely an ensemble movie. Just because it was sold on the power of Schwarzenegger does not mean that it's not an ensemble piece. And if you want to take that tack, then The Expendables is 100% a Sylvester Stallone movie that he hired all these people to be in. He was like, hey, I'm going to put all my friends in a movie, and it's going to be all about me, even though these guys are going to be here too. It was a marketing ploy that had serious drop-offs in quality. Like I said, they wasted Mickey Rourke. He's only in like 2 scenes. They wasted David Zayas, who was incredible in Dexter. He's the general, the bad guy. He's terrible in this movie. Terry Crews is wasted. Dolph Lundgren is the guy whose name he couldn't remember. He's, like I said, he's wasted.
And
they wasted all this talent.
All right, so that is time on the last main fight of this match. Great job to both of you. I will go ahead and sit you guys in the back for the moment. Heavy breaths, deep breaths, get that water in. I will bring our 3 judges on screen. Do you guys need your 30 seconds, or are we ready to go?
No, I'm good.
Good.
All right. We are good to go. So in 30 seconds or less, Mr. JD Domash, can you tell me who won for you and what was the main point that sold it?
It's definitely, I think once again, it came down to the counters, and Khalib won it for me. I think Frank spent too much time on sci-fi after we had already said take that out of the bunch, and add that to the fact I think he countered his ensemble argument, Frank's ensemble counter argument well enough. And to his point, if you're going to say if Predator is a Schwarzenegger movie, I 100% agree with the argument that Expendables is a Sly movie. They're both the leads of each movie, but they're still ensembles.
Understood. Okay, so the point or the vote for JD goes to Caleb. Henry, I go to you. Who does the point go to, Caleb or Frank?
I want to start off by saying Frank did a great job arguing for Hereditary at the very beginning, got off track talking about general topics, and did decent here, talk about one movie. His only argument, which he admitted, was the ensemble bit, And Caleb, I feel like, shut that down immediately, not only saying that his movie is an ensemble, but giving multiple examples and not just vague examples. He did really good jobs like setting the tone of why his is an ensemble. So taking the action sci-fi bit out of it, which, we settled that. Caleb smoked that argument, and I got to give it to him.
All right. And so with that, thank you, judges. I will send you to the
Jake.
back. And your winner by a score of 3-1. Caleb Mashed Potatoes Hanson with a score of 3-1. Caleb is our victor today. Just because it's the first match, and I think both these guys had some fun with each other, I'm going to go to the wide shot and bring Frank back in, and we'll go ahead and discuss the match briefly before we get out of here. All right, so let's get into it, guys. Obviously, as was said previously, this was both of your guys' first Battleground match. All things considered, well done to both of you. This match took some interesting twists and turns, man. It was a very well-thought first round, a very passionate fourth round. I hope Matt Damon never sees this somehow with that second round.
I hope he does.
Fair enough. I'll be sure to send him your to your Facebook page. I got
Up your game, Matt. You suck.
Wow.
So with that said, the joy of this opening to Movie Battleground is none of these competitors in their first 16 matches are finished. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Mr. Hanson, who, yeah, man, like you said, you tried multiple times to get in during kind of the second phase of it. I'm very certain, even way back in the day when I was running it, I tried scheduling like a joke match between you and Haven that just never worked out because of scheduling. So it's just always been a toughie, man. But we got you here. You got that win in regulation, 3-1, which is an exciting win. And so first, I'll ask you, how do you feel about it? How do you feel now that you got that win under you?
I kind of vindicated. I always thought I'd be good at this. Like I said, I like to argue with my friends about nerdy shit all the time. So I always thought this would be right up my alley. I've watched matches like a lot, so I thought it'd be a lot of fun. Could I have done better? Probably. Maybe if I had, studied up a little bit more on my answers and stuff. I just went with my general knowledge. I also kind of purposely made this hard on myself by picking a weird category and a couple of weird movies. But that's what I do. I go to bat for the movies that I love, and I don't ever want the easy road to a victory. And Frank was all but guaranteeing that I would have a victory. So I made it a little bit challenging on myself. And that being said, that round 2 went a little bit crazy. And round 3, I think we got a little off track too, Henry was saying. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I finally got to do this, and I look forward to whoever's coming next. I'll probably try to prepare more.
You better.
Well, speaking of, as I said, neither of you guys get to escape. Whether you win or lose here in your first match, you're being entered into a bracket of a tournament. And Caleb, your first match will be the winner of either Jacob West or Jordan Owens, which will be one of our later matches that we'll have going up in this first run. So they will be playing each other. The winner of that match will take you on. Very briefly, do you have a preference out of what you know from those two?
So I've argued with Jordan on one of James Shimo's channel things, and that was a lot of fun. And I've known Papa West for a long time now, it seems like. So either one would be a pleasure. I think it'd be fun to maybe get a little bit of revenge on those, because the thing we were doing was TV theme songs, and they totally voted out Darkwing Duck. So I would like to get some revenge on Jordan for that.
All right, fair enough. And Frank, I'll head down to you. And yeah, what Caleb said is correct. In the chat more than once on screen, your assertion was that you were going to get pounded. You came out the gate strong. You got that first point. I would say avoiding a knockout is the best you can do to not get pounded here. So now that you got your first time in, I'll ask you in a minute, how do you feel? But I don't know how much you know about the other people in the community. As we said before, Frank is new to doing stuff on screen. But you will be playing the 0-1 tournament. You will be playing the loser of either Schmodown competitor Amaru Moses or Shannon Briggs, who is another rookie to the league. So he'll have an uphill battle versus Amaru, who played beforehand. Do you know either of who those people are? And if you don't, then just what are your thoughts on tonight?
I don't know either one of them, honestly. But I mean, I had a good time, and that's what I came here to do. Look, dude, I'm a rapper, a songwriter who dabbles in graphic design. I'm not a movie critic, but I am a movie fan, and so it's always fun for me to like just bullshit about movies. So win or lose, I was coming in to have a good time, and that's what I did.
Absolutely. So as our competitors, I will always give the competitors a chance to plug themselves. Frank, as you just said, you have projects that you work on. So if you want to quickly plug them or tell them where they can find you.
Just search Frankenberry on Facebook or YouTube. You'll find me. I've got an album getting ready to probably drop late summer, but I don't have like a solid release date or anything yet. I'm like trying to raise some funds right now to get that thing actually pressed and duplicated. So, but just look me up on Facebook. Keep an eye out for that.
What kind of music is it?
It's kind of horror-based hip-hop, I guess. In a way.
All right.
Think ICP, except without all the fart jokes, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. So like a Boondock style, that hip hop?
Kinda, yeah. Hip hop,
yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Good stuff,
Absolutely. Man. And once again, Frank is a graphic designer who helps us. He not only created the backgrounds and the images that we have for the show, the logos, but he also created the new intro that we have, including composing the music that goes with it. So he's a very talented guy. Check him out. If you have some spare change to support, be sure to support him as well as he gets his endeavors underway. Caleb, is there anything you'd like to plug before we drop you off screen?
So you can find me on Facebook at Caleb H, or on Twitter at the Caleb Hanson, but I wouldn't recommend it because I'm never on Twitter. If you're into bad punk music, you can check out my band, The Beta Waves. We're Chicago local. We're on all the streaming platforms. We're trying to get an album in the books, hopefully by the end of the summer. Our first full-length album. And if you're in the Chicago area, come see us. We're playing as much as possible. And then if you're not into bad punk music, but you happen to be into like good acoustic pop rock, I'm also in the band Kim Banis and the Prince of Wales. Currently, we are doing shows. You can find us on Instagram at Kim Banis Music or Facebook at Kim Banis Music. Check it out. It's really actually quite good, and people enjoy it, unlike my punk music. And also, I'm one of the co-founders of Jack of All Trivia, the Trivia League. You can get into matches there if you like doing trivia. Do wrestling, TV, whatever kind of matches come up, we do them. And as long as we got people that can write questions. So, that's it.
All right. Frank, Caleb, thank you guys so much for competing with us. We will absolutely see you guys next time.
Nice to meet you, Caleb, by the way. I get to say that.
You too, man. It was awesome.
All right. This was a real fun, friendly match. Thank you, both of you, as I drop you both to the back. So, guys, that is it. That is the first episode of Movie Battleground in the bag. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad to be back. I'm sure the competitors were glad to be back. It cannot be stated enough. Thank you so much to the judges who are here with us tonight, JD Domash, Henry Sanchez, and Jake Tato, Jake Reese. Be sure to support everything they do. I know for a fact Henry has his own separate YouTube channel. I believe the other guys hop on and appear on endeavors where they can in other areas of YouTube. So be sure to support everything that they do. Be sure to support our sister channel, TMG Trivia. They are putting up all sorts of fun trivia content, including, I believe by the time this airs, we are a month out from the TM Geek for All, which is a huge event that we're putting on, a free-for-all style geek trivia event. We're about a month out from it, I believe, if this goes up, and I think it does. I should probably know that. But either way, check that out when it does go up. Check out all the matches they're doing. And be sure to check out all the content we have here on this channel. And tune back in tomorrow, as was previously announced. Rather than doing one big-ass event with like 3 videos stitched together, we are doing a premiere week every single night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a match going up for your pleasure to kind of settle back into Movie Battleground. And tomorrow is a very different fight from today. We have former league champion Grant Gregory going up against rookie Sean Hunter, who has played in our TM Geek League. He makes his debate debut tomorrow, and that will be a fun one. With all that said, my name is Aaron Knoll. Thank you guys so much for checking out Movie Battleground. Please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time on the Movie Battleground. Take care.